Sponsored by EA. Hey everyone, it's AlluringSimmer here, and if you're new here, then welcome to Planet Allura, and if you've been here before, then welcome back. Today, we are making a music classroom in The Sims 4. Before we get into today's video, I just want to share that I'm part of the EA Creator Network, which means that you can use my code AlluringSimmer when purchasing Sims 4 DLC, or visit my website at AlluringSimmer.com/creator to see other eligible EA titles that you can use my code AlluringSimmer for when making purchases on the EA app. To those who've already used my code, I appreciate you so much, and to those who continue to use my code, thank you so much for the support. Just a little note before we get into the build is that I am not at my usual setup right now, so I apologize in advance if my mic sounds a little bit different than usual, but I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Okay, so today we are building a music room, and I also want to get into why I'm building this room. So if you haven't noticed, in the past few weeks I've been making a lot of like teacher related builds, and part of the reason is that I'm going back to school to become a teacher, and with that I'm also doing a support-a-thon on my Twitch and YouTube, where basically all contributions towards my stream will be used towards school fees, and that means by contributing to the stream you can earn personal and cumulative incentives for the community. You can contribute to the stream by gifting a sub or subscribing to my Twitch channel, by gifting 100 bits or more, making a purchase on my Throne wishlist, or donating to my coffee. You can find the full list of incentives and how you can help me towards this goal by going to AlluringSimmer.com/incentive. Now, I did a poll through my community post on YouTube to decide what I would build next for this like educational build series. The one that actually won was daycare. I do think I will still build a daycare, but I wanted to space it out a little bit since we did just do a kindergarten classroom, where I also offered an alternative in case you want to use that build as a daycare or something for younger Sims. So just know that if you did vote for daycare, it will be coming shortly, but there's a few others that I want to do first. After this music room, we'll be doing an art classroom, and if you have any other suggestions for themed classrooms you would like to see, then let me know. We've done kindergarten so far, we've done elementary school classroom, just like a general homeroom classroom. Now we're doing a music room, and I actually set this music room up to be for younger students. I feel like all of the builds that I'll be doing will be set for like an elementary school setting, just to keep it consistent. But if you want to see classrooms fit for like older students, like high school, middle school, university, then let me know and I'll be sure to do that in the future. I also want to mention that the reason for videos being a bit more inconsistent recently is mainly because I am currently on vacation, and I do still want to get videos up for you. I want to aim, I know initially I think I said 3 videos a week. We're gonna see if I can do 1 to 2 videos a week, which I know is a lot less than what I initially had set out to do, but I want to make sure what I'm doing is feasible for the time that I have. And just know that when I go back to school in September, my goal is to have at least 3 videos a week. So it will change a little bit, but I hope the consistency can still stay the same. As of right now, this is Wednesday when I will be uploading this, and most likely when you see this, if you see it once it's released. And I'm going to try and get a video out every single Wednesday for the next few weeks, and then other videos might be spread out here and there, but on a less consistent day, but still having enough videos per week for you guys to watch. So the concept of making a classroom sounded so fun, like a music classroom specifically. It was very interesting to try and figure out like what I should add into this build. I didn't want to add like 20 instruments, especially because it's for elementary school. I feel like what would usually happen is there would be a few times where we would have like smaller instruments that all the kids could use, but it was a lot more like learning about like little things like theory, like how do you learn tempo and rhythm and beat. Like we could do like different things where we'd like clap our hands to the beat of a song or something like that. It wasn't really a lot of like involved instruments, as opposed to when you're older you might be doing like band, or even in like the music classroom sometimes you would pick an instrument that you would play for class. For me personally, I did the trumpet, and before that, like outside of school, I also played piano for a couple years. I even got into some competitions and earned like 2nd place in a few. So that was super fun and such an interesting time in my life to think about, like that I used to do that. I was not good at trumpet. I will admit that that was not my instrument, but piano I was pretty decent at, and I kind of wish that I did continue with it. If you have an instrument that you started playing when you were younger, or maybe you played a little while ago and you haven't like really stuck with it, but what was that instrument? And if there's an instrument that you currently play, let me know in the comments down below. I'm interested to hear if you guys have also played some musical instruments. I guess the second hard part of doing this build is the fact that we do have stuff for like high school and university. We don't really have things that are specific to making like an elementary school classroom or like a kindergarten classroom. We do have a lot of items that work for it, but we don't have like a pack dedicated to like younger students, right? So I try my best to use what we have and kind of make do of things that I would assume would be in a music classroom, like this poster with all the different instruments. We have this little thing with like little music pictures pinned onto the board. I also try to include things that you would see in a classroom regardless of what type it was, some things that I used in some of the other classrooms as well. And I feel like at the end it turned out really good and really cohesive, so I'm very proud of how this classroom turned out. This wasn't really my intention going into it, but I think it'd be fun if once we're done with all the builds, trying to like form them together to make an elementary school classroom, and then I can upload it and you guys can potentially use this for like actual gameplay, because the hobby board that I'm using is the one from Business and Hobbies that allows you to like actually teach a class. You can teach a lesson, you can bring students in and like mentor them. You could use the clubs feature from Get Together to help you out with that, and I think it's a good idea to make this work as sort of like a functional lot that you guys are able to use. And what my favorite part of it is like you could have it as a way for your Sims to make an income. You could have them set to be a teacher, you could have them come into the classroom, they could mentor other students, you could hire other Sims that would teach other classes while you're teaching your classes, and then that could be your way to make money. And let's say your teacher Sim is like a teacher for the music classroom, right? Outside of like teaching, because I don't know how much money they would make from just like teaching lessons and mentoring. Outside of that, you could also potentially like have them play for tips or something, have them go out and like play their instruments. If they're like an art teacher, you could have them do paintings in their free time and like sell those. If they're like just a homeroom teacher, you could have them teach like the Sims certain skills. You could use it as like a homeschool setting. I know it would be pretty big. It'd be a pretty big lot to use for just like homeschool, but like maybe you could choose a classroom that you really like, use that as a homeschool setting for your Sims like child, and then teach them that way, where it's not really for money, but just a fun way to like, I don't know, homeschool your kids. I know that currently homeschooling is not really an option, but it'd be really fun if they like made that a thing. I personally don't know how others feel about this, but the way that I feel about it is we should definitely have a pack that's dedicated to elementary school and daycare. I feel like a lot of people have been wanting those as like functional options. I know there are ways to do it with other packs like Business and Hobbies, or you could just like invite toddler Sims over that like your Sim may know like the parents of and take care of their kids during the day. There are definitely ways to go about doing it. However, I think it's something that should be like embedded into the game personally. I think by giving those two options, it makes the pack feel a bit more filled, because I feel like if we just did elementary school, there's already a lot of things that we have that I don't think that could be a pack on its own. For example, we already have after school activities. They could definitely flesh it out by making the option to have like active after school activities, like your Sims would actually go to a lot and learn those skills. But I think right now, like there is like a decent amount of things for the younger students to do. They can also get like school projects and work on them, which is nice if you have parenthood. Like there's a few things that they can already do at home, but I just wish there was more that they could do at school. I think something else that could be taken into consideration is some of the things that people maybe don't like about the classroom setting for like high school years. In university, like university, your Sims don't go to an active classroom. In high school years, they do. That is something that I would definitely want to see with an elementary school or with a daycare as well, like having an active day where your Sim actually goes to a lot and participates. But something else that I'd want to be taken into consideration is the fact that I want there to be more to do during the school day that's like purposeful. Like I know that with high school years, you can go and use like the lockers, you can go to the classroom, you can talk with the principal, like there's different like little things that you can do. But I'd want like the clubs and stuff, like I would want everything to have more of a purpose or a reason or more of a reward for for your sim. So for example, if your sim is in drama club, right, they can continue that into high school. Make that an active space where your sims can go to like drama club and actually participate and meet other sims. And then once they complete drama club, give them a certification that makes it so that if they want to apply to get the drama degree, I think it's like acting or something like that, then they receive a scholarship for doing the drama club in school. I don't know if that's already a thing, but that would be like a cool concept for like university. Make it so that like school activities that they do during high school or elementary school is something that helps them like get scholarships when they are in university. Something else you could do is add a couple more clubs for the kids to do, involve things that we have activities for. Maybe they can create their own club. I know that would get together. Obviously, we can already create clubs, so that's a good way to utilize the club system, but maybe make it so that there's a feature with this elementary school type pack where your sims can create their own club, like an active place that they can go, and there's a benefit to it. Because right now, obviously, they can do a club, they can like level up their skills, make it so that if they participate in it throughout the entire school year, they get some sort of certificate at the end that can help them in high school or help them in university. Maybe they start off at a higher grade level, maybe they have less projects to do, maybe they can do an alternative to a high school exam, you know, just different things like that would be really fun. I also think there would have to be like multiple perspectives for how the pack would work. And I know I'm not really talking about the build, but I hope that you guys are still enjoying what you're seeing. I feel like it's definitely starting to come together at this point. But if we were to have a pack for elementary school and daycare, or even if there were two separate packs, right now I'm kind of focused on elementary school, but maybe when we do the daycare builds, I'll talk more about what I would like to see if there was a daycare pack. But I think there'd have to be something for people that maybe don't want classroom gameplay. Obviously, to an extent, it's like if you don't really want that, you probably wouldn't get that pack. But like with high school years, we have like the pier, we have like the boba shop, thrifting. Like there are definitely things that your sims can do that aren't necessarily high school specific. And then the same thing with like university, like there's a lot of university life, there's events that your sims can participate in. The world is nice. I will admit that obviously you can't really live in the world, like you can, but there's not really a purpose to live in the world unless your sim is in university. But I also like you have the alternative of like taking classes from home, not taking classes at home, but like not having to live on campus. So your sims will just go to class, they could still have a job, they could still do other things, they could take care of kids if they want to have kids while being in university. So there's a lot more freedom in that sense. So with an elementary school, as I said before, with like the different perspectives, I would love to see the option to be a teacher, to be a student, maybe to fulfill other roles, like maybe your sim could be a custodian, maybe your sim could be a mentor teacher. Maybe if they're in university for education, they can like have an active class where they go to school and they like teach a class. Like I think that would be so fun. Obviously I want to be a teacher, so that's why I think it would be so fun. But I just feel like things like that would be more involved for like gameplay would be something that people would really like. I also think that like having more roles, maybe your sim could be a specific kind of teacher. Maybe they could be a music teacher or an art teacher and they go in for certain hours of the day to teach those classes. Maybe they have a rotation of classes, so maybe sims will come in during the day, they'll leave at some point so that you don't have too many sims loaded on the lot, but you'll have different students throughout the day. I think that would be fun. I think that with this pack, and when we take into account like the different subjects that sims could learn, I feel like that should also bring like new interactive objects that the sims can use. Like maybe make the model skeleton that we have like functional and have it be something where your sims can learn by like looking at it or by viewing it, making it so that sims don't just learn skills quickly from like reading a book. Maybe they have to do something else in addition to that. So like maybe they can go do research at the computer about all the different skills. Maybe they can do a research project on their own. Maybe they go out into the world and they do like different activities to like help them develop their skills. Like just making it more involved, and also having this be an option similar to like high school years and university, where your sims don't have to participate in an active day if they want to. But if you do want that extra activity, if you want the ability to have like gameplay and not just send your sims off somewhere and then have them come back, then you have the ability to do so. As y'all can tell, I'm really passionate about teaching, and I just would like to see that reflected in the sims as well, with things things being more involved for you to do. Because I do feel like with high school years, for example, I do like the ability to be able to go to school. I like that there's things that your Sims can do after school, but I need to see them like more involved, if that makes sense. They don't necessarily have to be more complicated to do, but just like I don't want my Sims to just be like standing around while they wait for like the initial event to start. And I also wish sometimes that some of the events were a bit longer. For example, like prom, I feel like that goes by way too quick. I prepped my Sims for it for so long just for prom to be like 30 seconds. Not really, but I honestly feel like there's not enough time for me to get my Sims to go on the dance floor, to vote, to listen to like the voting results, to interact and mingle with other Sims. Like I'm sure that there is a mod to make it longer as there is for a lot of other things. But that's something that I feel like we should have the option to either control how long it is or just give us the option to have these events be longer and then we can end it earlier if we want to. There's more freedom with stuff like that. I will say, despite the fact that we don't have a pack specifically for elementary school, putting this build together was not as difficult as you would think. I feel like there's a lot of kits that I used, a lot of like the education packs that we do have, like high school years. I don't know if I really use Discover University. And then there's other packs that just have things that would make sense to be in a classroom, like City Living. I'm pretty sure that's where the keyboard came from, and that was useful. Like the instruments that we got with some of the other packs, the little spellcaster, I think it's from Realm of Magic, like the little book that sits on the stand. I kind of used it to look like a music stand. I do wish that we got like actual music stands in the game. I think that would be nice to have, even if it's just decor. But it could also be something where like maybe your Sims can put like music that they've written, because I know that's something that you could do. You can write songs. They can put the music on the stand in front of them and use that and like pull out a microphone and sing. That would be interesting. Or pull out their instrument and play. I also didn't do chairs or tables in this classroom besides like the teacher's chair, because when I was looking at like elementary school classrooms, most of them just have like a big rug where the students would sit, because they do a lot of like group work. They can also stand and do like music class, and realistically like you could just bring in chairs if you really needed it on a day. I did add a couple like cushions on the ground in the corner. One of them is kind of inaccessible because of where it's sitting, but my idea would be like if you want to use the chairs at some point, you could bring them out and place them wherever you like to have the Sims sit there. I think they can also just sit on the floor. And I also wanted to take into consideration the fact that like music class usually isn't like a class that you're going to be in the entire day. It's usually like 1 hour in music class, because it's one of those like special classes that you would have. Like homeroom, you would do all your like core subjects like English, math, science. When you're younger, obviously in high school, you have separate classes for each of those things. But then like music class, you'd be there for like an hour and then you would go back to your homeroom. So I was like, they're not going to be in this space that long. So I don't think it'd be a big deal for them to not have chairs. Something that I could potentially do is if I wanted to have that, I'd probably extend the room and add some like benches or something at the back. And there's also a lot of free space in this build that I feel like if you wanted to use this for yourself, you could just add some like chairs or some benches at the back of the room where there's that like open space. But now I think it's time that we officially wrap up this build. I hope that you guys all enjoyed it. I believe it's available on the gallery already for you guys to download. My gallery ID is AlluringSimmer. If you did enjoy, consider to like this video, comment down below what your favorite part of the build is, what you would like if we had an elementary school pack, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye everyone.